All right, thanks for coming out. Got some really good work out there today. Got about 80 plays in, which was about the number that we wanted going into this thing. Some really quality work on both sides of the ball. I wanted to really emphasize our younger players today and see what they can do and give them an opportunity to get out there and show if they can have a role this upcoming season or not. And it was good to see a lot of those guys out there flashing today. In my mind, just way too many penalties that negated explosive plays offensively or holding penalties in the secondary on defense that extended drives as well. So we pride ourselves on playing smart football. Year one here in 2021, we were one of the fewest penalized teams in this league. Last year, we were one of the most, so we've got to get that cleaned up. Had too many of those today that we didn't need. And then, explosive plays. Offense created a handful of them today, which was good to see. And then defensively played pretty good, I thought. Just we got to eliminate the explosives as well. But like the group, similar to what I've told you guys before, it's a hardworking group. To be on practice number 8 today. I know we're a tough team and we play hard and play physical. We just got to get a lot of the other stuff cleaned up and through one scrimmage now. Got another week of preseason camp coming up and then another scrimmage next Saturday as well. And then, really start to hone in on, who we are and who we're going into game one with. But certainly feel like we've made a lot of improvements through these first 8 practices and really like coaching this group. From top to bottom. Injury-wise, we're in decent shape. We had some guys that got banged up today, but they all came back and finished, so that was good to see. So unless something changes between now and tonight or tomorrow morning, came out of the scrimmage in good shape. The only guys that didn't scrimmage today were Terrell Dawkins. Expect him back. All these guys I'm about to name, or we expect back next week. Terrell Dawkins, excuse me, let me back up. Terrell Dawkins, expect him back next week. Kelton Henderson, freshman receiver, he didn't scrimmage today. He's got a little bit of a hamstring, no issues as well. Pup didn't scrimmage today. We expect him back next week. Trey Knox didn't scrimmage today. We expect him back Monday. Reed McKeska, he's dealing with a little bit of a lower body injury. He may be a few more weeks. David Spalding didn't scrimmage today. Expect him back next week. And then Juice Wells didn't scrimmage today. He won't be back next week, but optimistic that he'll be ready for game one, knowing how Juice attacks things. He's got a little bit of a lower body injury that he's dealing with right now and nothing long term. Just some things that he's got to get a hold of, and he assures me he's playing game one, and knowing him, he will. But other than that, like I said, everybody should be back next week except Reed McKeska, and he may be a couple more weeks. So as it stands through 8 practices, we're in good shape. It's not DEFCON 3 like supposedly it's been on social media the last couple of days about some injuries out there. My God, it's football, fellas. There's injuries. There's things that happen in practice. Guys get banged up. They come back. They're tough. That's called football. So like where we are as a team and toughness and mental and physical, and got a lot to improve on, but it's a good start through 8 practices. Any questions?
Shane, when you have a pretty established QB like Spencer, does he go a lot of plays and things like this? Or like you said with the young guys, you mostly rotate your backups in there?
Yeah, no, great question, David. He took every rep today with the first group. We wanted to do that today. He needed the work. He's got a lot of new pieces, around him, a lot of guys that were here in spring practice, but then, some new guys, freshmen that are here as well. So we thought it was critical to we treated it like a game, David. So coaches were on the sideline. We had headphones. We were signaling plays in. So just the mechanic, or signaling plays and calling plays from the side like we will in a game. So it just felt like from a mechanic standpoint, he needed to be out there and get all the work. So he got all the work with the ones, and then Luke and Tanner and Colton and Lenoris all split up the work with the second group and the third group. Like we did in the spring, we made Lenoris, Colton, and Tanner were live today, where we were tackling them like we have done previously, and that was good work for those guys also to understand that there's a pass rush in the SEC, but also for our defensive players to be able to, have to tackle those guys also.
Shane, going into camp, you talked a lot about limiting turnovers through the first week of camp. How do you feel about the offense's ability to kind of limit those things?
It's funny you say that. It's pretty good. I feel good. So through what is this, practice 8, practice 7, practice 5, through 5 practices, we did a study, just what were our turnovers through 5 practices in 2021 and 2022. How many turnovers were there in team periods through the first 5 practices, and compared to 2023. And through 5 practices, the turnovers had been cut in half from an offensive standpoint. So great from an offensive standpoint, not so good from a defensive standpoint, because we want them to be creating turnovers, and they weren't creating them at the rate they had the last 2 seasons. And then as soon as I tell the offense that, they go out the next day and we had 6, and that was by like four more than we had in any practice all year, all preseason. But to answer your question, good. We really didn't have many today. There was a ball that got a pass. There was a kind of a bang play, and ball got popped up in the air, and JT Gear, he got the interception. So it's actually 2 straight practices that our only turnover was a defensive lineman getting an interception. Tonka had one yesterday in practice. So we've got to continue to, emphasize creating turnovers defensively. But so far, so good. The offense has done a good job with it. And like I've said before to you guys, that's everybody. It's not just the running backs holding on to the ball. It's quarterback making good decisions. It's blitz pickup, and where we don't get hit in the back by a free rusher and things like that.
Talked a lot about offensive line and trying to find the right combinations. After 80 plays today, do you feel a little bit closer, or maybe knowing who those best 5 are, and maybe 6, 7, 8 behind them?
Yeah, that was a goal of today, was to have a better idea about who those guys are as well. I think we're closer. We're mixing in a lot of people. One guy I should have mentioned that didn't scrimmage today was Casey Henry, but you could throw him in that mix from an offensive standpoint, but he's another one that'll be back Monday. Casey, we've talked about it before, I think, but we got a few guys like Casey Henry, Jackson Hughes, guys that are coming off off-season surgeries that are just now getting back. So Jackson actually practiced yesterday and did a nice job. Kaysen will be back Monday. We'll certainly give those guys an opportunity to get into the mix. But I'm eager to get back over to the facility tonight and watch this practice tape or watch this scrimmage tape and see how that offensive line performed. Who was our starting 5 right now? I couldn't sit here and tell you definitively who it is, but I really like our freshman offensive line group. Those guys are going to play for us, a handful of them, and now we need to just figure out who those top 7, 8 guys are going into game 1. So got a better idea, but we're not there yet.
Can you tell a drastic difference between those freshmen who were here early as opposed to the handful that came in the summer?
Yeah, probably not as much as you might think. Certainly the guys that were here in the spring, they've got a little bit of a leg up because they've been through an entire winter with Luke Day in the weight room. They've been through 15 spring practices. Today wasn't their first time being in Williams-Brice Stadium. So they're a little bit ahead from that standpoint. There's no question about it. But I'll be honest with you, Reggie, like the freshmen that didn't enroll early, this is a talented freshman class we got. It really is. I mean, you look across the board, O-line, D-line, every position, receiver, defensive back, quarterback, running back. There's some really talented freshmen, and they don't look like they just got here. So when I say that you can't really tell a difference, to me that's more of a compliment to the freshmen that did just get here and the whole freshman class in general. Now, certainly their heads are spinning, and how we do things every day is a challenge, just, being in the building on time, getting your rest, all that stuff. They're not as far along as those guys that were here in January, but they're not far off, and we're really impressed with them.
At running back, I think there was a lot of talk coming into camp about trying to get some of the other guys ready beyond to carry on. How's that group?
Good. Cam Sandlin was back today. He had a little bit of a surgical procedure over the summer, so he got out there today, did a good job. Did I lose your brother? Okay. He got back out there today. Cam did. Mario Anderson had a nice run today. He had a run that came back because of a holding penalty. DJ Braswell got in there and did a nice job. today, along with DK, Bradley Dunn, who had a nice spring. He did some good things. Saw Nathan Harris-Wainick, had a run in there. So, yeah, we're trying to get as many of those guys to come along as we can and really like them. When I talk about I like the freshman class, I certainly include DJ Braswell in that group. He's got a chance to be a really good player for us and did some nice things today. So that's a good competition that we have. And then Juju was limited today, but nothing major, just kind of being smart with him. But I like the running back group, and they all bring something to the table.
In your desire to have a better running game and also stopping the run, kind of where do you feel you are after watching the two sides go head-to-head today?
Getting there, certainly got a lot of work to do. I didn't see, a ton of just downhill runs that, were popping out of there, so credit the defense for that. A couple of the longer runs that we did have today were plays that, popped out on the perimeter. We had a goal line period where we just put the ball on the 2-yard line and, made the offense run the ball to see if we can run the ball down there in a goal line physical situation like that, put it on the 2-yard line, and the defense offense had a run in there, but the defense did a nice job stopping it. So it's still a work in progress, Phil, and we've each side has certainly, shown flashes of being able to do that. The biggest thing that I see with these, just the offensive line and defensive line is just being able to sustain drives and effort as a drive goes on. We get to play 8, play 9 in a drive, and we're not where we need to be. Younger guys, particularly with that second group, of being able to sustain things. We've got to be more physically and mentally tougher, and that'll certainly help with running the ball and stopping it.
Shane, where have you seen the most growth in Spencer through this training camp, and just what are your overall impressions of him after the scrimmage?
Really pleased with where he is right now. I think he's grown as a leader over the summer and over the year. He's got a great relationship with Dow and the way that they work together. His knowledge of the offense, there is some carryover from what we did last year, but terminology-wise, there's a lot that's different as well. So there's things that he's had to learn, but he seems very confident. I was cognizant today of the play clock and being able to communicate and get things in and call stuff, and didn't have any issues with that, and he did a great job. So I think really, Colin, just his command of the offense and he's a competitor, and he wanted to be out there today. We had some drives where drive was over and I was going to send a new group out there, and he wanted to stay out there and, hey, let me get some more plays and things like that. That's just his mentality, like where he is right now.
While Juice is out, just who's kind of taking most of those first team reps at receiver, and with Trey out as well, just who are you looking at as the go-to receiving targets?
Yeah, well, Trey, he was limited yesterday and today, so it's really the only 2 days that he's been out. But we got depth at tight end now. It's a little bit thin right now because Reed McKeska's out as well. But it's a great opportunity for Josh Simon to step up, which he has. It's a great opportunity for Connor Cox and Nick Elksness to do some things. Saw those guys flash today. Lucas Vose is a freshman. Maurice Brown's a freshman. So it's a lot of tight ends that are working. So all those guys are stepping up. And then in regards to the receiver position, we're trying to figure out, just like, the offensive line, trying to figure out who our top guys are there from a rotation standpoint. But certainly with Juice being out right now, that gives more opportunities for Nick Harbor and Omega Blake and Nick and Omega mainly. Xavier Leggette's an older guy. He didn't get a ton of work today, but gave opportunities for Eddie Lewis, and Amarian's doing some really good things. So it's a solid group. Older guys like Peyton Mangrum. So really today was, again, let's get these younger guys in there, these freshmen, and see what they can do as well. Let's figure out who our top 5, 6, 7 receivers are going into game one.
We'd probably get yelled at if we didn't ask for a Nick Harbor update. So what can you tell us about his first 8 days?
Nick's day, I thought Nick did some good things. We got him out there, and he operated efficiently. I noticed him when we did punt and what we call punt pressure, the unit that goes up against our punt team. I noticed him on that, a guy with his speed and size, you would think would be pretty good at being able to block punts and spring returns for the punt returner. So he did some good stuff in that and working at receiver. He's a tough kid. You know, you worry about some of these track guys sometimes. Do they just want to come out there and just run fast and shy away from contact? Not that guy. Like, he is tough and he is physical. And there's great, you know, the DBs were – Torian was kidding with me the other day that, you know, Nick Imamori's upset because Nick felt like he was the fastest guy on the team, and now Nick Harbor's come in and kind of apparently taken that mantle, and so there's great competition in practice. And every time I see any kind of like one-on-one rep going on with Nick Harbor, there's a pretty good chance that Nick Imamori's out there competing against him, which is going to make both those guys better. So pleased with where he is, and now through, you know, 8 practices, most everything's in from an installation standpoint. We've got a couple, you know, situational things that we've got to install, but as far as the bulk of the offense, it's in. So now his head can quit swimming a little bit and just line up and let's go play as we hone in on things the next few weeks.
Mo and Jordan, I guess, played something resembling football today for the first time in almost a year. How did they look in something closer to a game setting physically?
Yeah, good. No, they really did. You know, credit those guys. I mean, people forget we lost 2 starters in the Arkansas game, week 2 last year, to season-ending injuries, and was tough to overcome. Obviously, our starting defensive end, our starting linebacker, so we missed them last year. It's great to have those guys back. I think both those guys have had really good preseasons so far. You notice them. Jordan is excited about being out there. You hear him every practice. He's playing with great enthusiasm and fire, and it was good to see those guys out there today. You know, they're older guys and really good players, and we need them to continue to keep coming. Yeah, thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend.